Welcome to the third instalment of Talking Beef. I'm John Wright from Cooter Park Bluey. This time we want to have a bit of a chat about weaning. I think it's a fairly integral part of a commercial beef system, and so there's lots of ways you can look at it and lots of ways you can go about it. So why do we wean? I guess from some people's point of view is that it's when they want to sell the calves, they'll be weaning them at that time. Another part of it is taking the calves away from the cows so the cows can recover leading up to calving, and others look at it from a point of view of a more efficient use of your feed. So let's go through those quickly. As far as the weaner sales stuff, I'm not involved in that part of the industry that much, so I won't say too much other than to say the profit drivers when you're selling weaners are different to other production systems. We know that in those particular markets, the bigger calves make more money. The calves with particular coat colour make more money. And so in a way, they're the profit drivers. They have to be of one colour to get maximum dollar, and the bigger and heavier they are. So it's hard to mix that back into what type of cattle we should breed for that particular market. Many could say that the profitability of those herds have very little to do with the seed stock industry. It's about how much feed you put in them, how long you leave them on their mums, and what colour the skin is. So, that's an area that I won't go into too much. The second about cows recovering, in my mind, the lowest we want to see our cows is at weaning time. So if you're at that point weaning calves off cows and you've got fat cows, I'd say you might have a bit too much fat in the system. Those cows are going to be heavier, they're going to be eating more grass, and normally when we're taking the calves off the cows have got time to recover, so they don't need to be fat at that stage. So then we move on to the part about the efficient use of feed, and that comes from that part of us understanding that the calf on the cow, if he's putting on 1 kilogram of weight gain, say he's 5 months of age and about 200 kilos, the calf's going to be eating 5 kilos. The mum, if she's a 550 kilo cow, is going to be eating about, say, 15 kilos, 10 to 15 kilos. So you have to put those two together. So you've got 20 kilos of feed being eaten for that 1 kilo of gain. So we've got a 20-to-1 conversion. If we separate those calves off at that particular time at weaning, say at 5 months of age, then we take the calf off, concentrate the best possible feed you have on the calf, and then we have the ability to reduce the intakes or reduce the quality of feed that goes into the cow. Now, if you can reduce the intake, say she's not eating 15 after you've weaned the calf, back down to 10, the calf has moved up from 5 to 5 or 6, then we've got a 16-to-1 conversion going on there, not the 21, 22, 23, 24 as the calves get older and stay on the mum. So, it's not to say one is right or wrong, it's just something to recognise. If you can take those calves off the cows early, then it gives you that period of time to try and work on reducing the input costs to that cow. So reduce intake of the cow, or put her in places where the feed doesn't cost so much. So the poorer country, she doesn't need much, she'll tick along up to calving. So we've done that, we're looking at that feed conversion rate. At that particular time, once the calf comes off the cow's conversion is 1 to infinity, isn't it? Right through to the time that she calves. There is no gain that is profitable at that particular stage. So anyway, the only way to reduce the costs from the time you take the calf off the cow to when she calves again is to reduce her intake or reduce the costs of the feed that goes into it. So it becomes really, really important if you're in an expensive country to be thinking about that, because you could be doing something else with that feed when you don't feed it to the cow. If you've got good quality grass that can fatten something else, why give it to a cow that doesn't need it? Important for us to remember at weaning time also the difference between the calves that you've got, the steer calves and the heifer calves. If those heifer calves are going to be kept as breeders, then why shove a whole lot of feed down their throat? We've said this before. Why would you join a 400 kilogram heifer or a 500 kilogram heifer? What a waste of feed and a waste of resources in your system. So when we're thinking about how to look after those weaner calves, just like you see behind us here, we don't push those females along that we're going to be breeding with. They can just coast along. We only got to get them to 250 or 300 kilos to join them. So they can take a bit of a back seat just like the cows can. So when we're talking about the efficiency of conversion and the allocation of the resources in our commercial production system, it's really, really important to think about the power of numbers, how you can use those cows in big numbers, pack them in if you can, and get that soiling that's happening on the paddocks so they don't want to eat it. And so the power of the rotational grazing, the power of big numbers, use electric fencing if you have to move those cows along relatively quickly, but getting them to the stage where they don't want to eat the grass that they're walking around on, but you're not denuding the paddock. Well, now we'll go into a little bit about the actual weaning process. These are only my thoughts, and I guess talking about what we do and people I know do. And so that early weaning, yard weaning concept is about bringing the calves to one particular place away from the cows. I think an effective way of doing it, that's the hardest thing, is controlling those cows after you've taken the calves off them. What we do, and a lot of people do, is actually transport the calves from one place to another and leave the cows behind. The cows just stand around the yard there looking for their calves for a couple of days, then off they wander. You've got no fences being broken down. Maybe you could swap with neighbours or something like that. You wean your calves in his yards and he weans them in yours. I don't know, but if you can just have that concept of removing the calf out of the situation and not trying to move cows away and all that sort of stuff, and then they start jumping fences and coming back. So that's just a bit of a thought, but the important thing, I think, is to get those calves in a contained situation so they can't walk around. It reduces their stress. They've got to give them good feed. Go and buy some loosened hay and that sort of stuff if you need to really look after those calves at that stressful time. Good water, good feed, good health program, of course drenching and vaccinating at that particular stage. You may choose to actually vaccinate the first time at calf marking time and then give them their second dose then at weaning time to give them their booster, and then that animal's set up for the rest of the year. So I don't necessarily have all the answers to this, but there's certainly a power of packing animals in as far as transferring disease. They will go through a bit of a stress. They will start to show some of those respiratory diseases. They pass it around each other when they're all packed in and start to build immunity, which I think is a great thing. Really, really important for you to be walking through those animals then. Just spend the time with the animals, walking through them, talking to them, getting them to know you, and leaving them there for about a week. And at that stage, 9 times out of 10, those animals will just quietly walk out of the yard without any stress, not needing to be specially handled and taught how to be in a mob and that sort of stuff. If you concentrate on those animals and give them the time and the quality feed to reduce the stress of that thing, I think they'll be easier animals to manage into the future. So again, just wanted to stress that part. If you're weaning calves off fat cows, I think you've got probably a little bit too much fat in the system. Working towards how you can manage those cattle to reduce the intake of the total herd and then maybe able to carry more stock. But that's just some quick discussion about early weaning, some of the tips and some of the thoughts that I think might be interesting to people. So this is John Wright talking beef, and we'll see you next time.